Garvan was born on the 20th of March, 1973. He was handicapped at birth and nearly died as he failed to start breathing. He was later confined to a special baby unit in Kingston Hospital until he was well enough to be taken home. But his health did not improve, and he was later admitted to the Children's Hospital at Great Ormond Street, and there it was diagnosed that he had a very rare and fatal bone marrow disease known as Fanconi's anemia. Towards the end of Garvan's life, he had visited on 3 separate occasions Helen House, a hospice here in Oxford for sick and terminally ill children. On his last visit, he had recorded a television interview with Mother Frances Dominica, the founder of Helen House, in which he talked openly about his illness, fully aware that he was going to die.
I was on steroids for 5 years, for the first 5 years of my life. And, well, when I was 10 years old, they took me off them because I had a liver hemorrhage. And they found that was the cause of the problem.
And what's your illness called?
Fanconi's anemia. It's something to do... It's a very rare bone marrow disease.
And did Mummy tell you about it?
Yes, she did. And she helped me to get used to my problems and helped me, gave me confidence and when I was down, and I just went on from there. I've had, as I was saying, I had steroids when I was when I was 5 years old. They began to put me on them because I was going on to blood transfusions and things. And my doctor, my consultant, my first consultant was Dr. Michael Dillon. And he was lovely. He was very good. And he explained to Mummy about, well, we've got to do this. And he explained that I had to have these anabolic steroids for the first 5 years of my life. So I went on with them, and I went to school, and I worked hard and did all the subject I was used to. And then just one time, I started to begin to have blood transfusions again. And I went up, and I was just going to a new school at the time, called Twickenham Prep. And I had just had a blood transfusion, and they were giving me a trial. Mr. Hill was the headmaster at the time. So he gave me a fair sort of trial for the school. And I came home the first day and I wasn't feeling too well. So I said to Mum, I think I'd rather stay at home tomorrow. So I stayed at home. It was just in the night time. When I was in bed, nothing had happened and I was feeling a bit better. It was later on when I began to get pain in my neck and my right arm. And I was getting worried about it. And I went into Mum and I said to her, I've got an awful lot of pain. And she said, well, I'll give you a Panadol. She gave me a Panadol. I went to sleep. It came out again. So I still got the pain. It's hurting. And I said, it's getting worse. I said, it's like a huge cramp going down my arm. So something's bleeding. Mum went downstairs and began to get worried. She rang the ambulance and they said they'd come. And they had the emergency out downstairs ready for me, the admission ward ready for me to get ready downstairs at Great Ormond Street. And they said, well, we'll see what he's got. And that I was just in Dad's arms and Mum noticed that my feet went blue. Just went bright blue. When I got to Great Ormond Street, I went in, and the doctor went out of the room for a while. And I just turned round when I was lying down and looked at Mum. And as I was looking at her, I was thinking, I'll be all right, I'll do my best, and I'll try hard. I thought I must keep alive.
I really have never seen such pain. He was screaming at times. I had to hold him down on the bed with this terrible pain that he had. And of course I said to everybody, well, come on, do something for him. You can't leave him lying there. So they said, no, we can't do anything for him because we've got to find out what's happening to him. So he stayed like that until about 10 o'clock that day when they took him down to the actual scanning room where they were doing a scan where they thought actually he had kidney stones, and as they went across his liver they found his liver was actually pumping with blood and he was having a massive hemorrhage. And at that point, his pain had eased a little, but there was nothing at all they could do for him. I honestly, through all the years of Garvan's life, I had never seen him in such terrible agony, and really very little was done to alleviate it, in the sense of that they couldn't actually do anything because, they couldn't actually go in and investigate, so he had to actually tolerate what was happening to him.
Doctors discovered that Garvan had developed tumours surrounding his liver, and there was a high probability that one of them could be malignant. Since the anabolic steroids were suspected to be the main culprit, these were stopped, and once again he was put back on his regular blood transfusions. During his frequent stays in hospital, Garvan was remarkably brave, fully aware that he was going to die. But he didn't dwell on it. He always made himself available to all the parents and children who were staying at Great Ormond Street, and he never lost his wonderful sense of humour.
Well, I can remember one incident when he was overheard two little boys talking, and one said, "Oh, I can't eat that because I'm diabetic." And this other chap said, "Oh, well, I can't because I'm Jewish." Garvan was just so tickled by that. It was a little thing, but he had, for a child of his age, quite a remarkable sense of humour. I'll never forget Garvan. And I've had, I would think, hundreds and thousands of children through my hands. And he is going to be, well, he was so exceptional. And yet, one can look back and say he was fun.
He decided he would like to go out, and he said he was feeling a bit down, and so I got him dressed, and he went out in a car and went down to Twickenham. And I was unaware of all this because I didn't go down with him, and a friend of ours took him down. And I was in the kitchen, and when he came back, he sent for me, and when I came in, there was a glass with some beer in it, a pint glass. And he stood there and he said, "That's for you, Dad." And I thought, well, there's something wrong here, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Because, it was a most unusual thing to happen. But I went along with it. I went to pick the glass up and it collapsed. It was one of those rubber glasses. And he stood there and he rocked on his heels. He went back and laughed. He laughed that much that he had been so ill that I was afraid he was going to actually, injure himself by the way he was laughing. But he saw that he was so amused by the idea of me being caught out by the joke.
In July 1984, as a special treat for Garvan, his mother took him to see the ladies' final at Wimbledon. The local police soon got to hear of this and decided to make his day even more special. They provided an escort for his taxi into the grounds, where he was met by some of the stars of Wimbledon, including the quarter-finalist Pat Cash. Before the match, the police were very kind to him, showed him round the grounds, where he met other personalities like Chris Lloyd and the number 1 seed, John McEnroe, Garvan's hero. John McEnroe later sent Garvan his winning tennis shoes that he wore in the 1984 championships. Garvan was the eldest of 3, his sister Elizabeth and their younger brother Pascal. His mother was expecting her 4th child, and since Garvan's health was deteriorating rapidly, what better place for a short holiday for him than Helen House? They got in touch with Mother Frances, who invited them to the hospice on the same day the Duchess of Kent was visiting.
They had a marvellous rapport. They became quite loving friends in a way. And he talked to her in a very natural way, and she talked to him in exactly the same way. They sort of had the afternoon together, sort of walking around the different rooms, and he said goodbye to her when he left, and she gave him a kiss, and they said they would meet again. But I'm afraid they didn't. The last time they met was when Garvan actually was dying at Great Ormond Street.